friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. I'm here with a video for Scrappy Tails Crafts. We have a new release that we're celebrating. This is inspired by Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, and it's all about fairies. It is fabulous. And here I'm going to show you 4 things in the release. The release is huge, but Scrappy Tails is releasing their first set of stencils. It's a set of 3 stencils that you can layer together, or you can use them individually. It's pretty fantastic. So it makes a really pretty moon, and it makes a really pretty starry night. So it's perfect for this particular release. So I was super excited to hear that Sabrina was going to start releasing some stencils. I think stencils are such a good value for your money because there are so many techniques you can do with them. So I'm pretty excited about that. And that stencil, by the way, is called the Starry Night Stencil, and it is a set of 3. So this is the Fairy Friends stamp set, and I love this. It's got lots of different fairy images. It's got lots of different mushroom images. There's a little hedgehog there. So you could create all kinds of scenes with this. There's a moon and some great sentiments. And then she released this whole fairy sentiment stamp set, and there's a coordinating die set that goes with this. And those dies cut out those big word stamps, so it essentially turns them into word dies, which is really nice. This is a pretty fun stamp set. Look at all this. This is chocked full of stuff. These dies, this is the A2 Cloud Frame cover plate die, and it's got so many little dies sets in it. This one is the Slimline Everyday Borders. You can see grass, you can see mushrooms, you can see clouds there. I really consider that kind of thing to be an essential, especially the clouds and the grass, to be essential dies to have in your stash. And since it's slimline, you can cut them down and use them on the A2 size as well. So that's really nice. So check out our Instagram hop, which starts today, June 11th, and goes through June 18th, for a chance to win a gift certificate to the Scrappy Tails Crafts store. So I'm playing today with just one of the stencils in the Starry Night Stencil Kit. I'm going to use the one that's like a whole background. I cut a piece of black cardstock down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to go ahead and first stamp my sentiment. So I pulled out the fairy sentiment set. I want to use that big script Dreams, and then this is a really nice sentiment builder. There are lots of things I could put with that word. I don't even have to use any of those big words. There are several of the little things, the little sentiments that go really well together. So you can build like a ridiculous number of sentiments out of this sentiment set. I love this kind of sentiment set. I think they're so versatile, and the fact that she created a coordinating die set that basically turns some of those words into dies as well, I love that. So I decided I would heat emboss this in white, so I'm using my clear embossing ink, and I'm going to use some white embossing powder. And you can see I pulled out my tub of white embossing powder. I got a bunch of white embossing powder on a clearance sale and put it in a big tub, and that stuff is going to last me forever. So I did go ahead and heat set this. You won't, I cut that out of the video because it's kind of boring to watch someone heat set. Plus my heat tool doesn't actually reach my desk, so you can't see it anyway. So I'm going to attach the stencil with some washi tape just to hold it in place and make it a little bit easier to do. I actually have a magnetic mat under there, so I could put some magnets on it too, but I don't want to cover up the cardstock. Although I do decide I want to mask off the sentiment because I love the way it turned out. So I used some 3M repositionable post-it tape there. You could use anything, just a piece of paper. And that is Nuvo Glacier Paste, and that is in Pineapple Delight. So it's a really pretty yellow, and it's got lots of sparkle. Now, if you use a paste like I just did with your stencils, you need to clean your stencil right away. So I went to the kitchen and cleaned that up. I cleaned my spatula, I cleaned my craft mat, I cleaned the whole thing. And you need to put that paper aside so that you give your paste time to dry, like an hour. Give yourself an hour. In the meantime, I stamped one of the fairies from the Fairy Friends stamp set in my Color Hive Eclipse Black ink. I love this ink for Copic coloring because I can stamp it and start coloring right away. I'm using some really pretty reds. I started with my darkest and I used R59 and went over the lines that the artist put in for like the folds of the dress. And then I used R27 and went over the lines that I did with R59. And then I did that with R24 and then filled it in with R21. So I got some nice light spots in there too. For the wings, I usually use a really light color like a BG00 or B000 or something like that. But this time I decided to make them a little darker. So I used RV91 and RV83. I just outlined with the 83, which is the darkest color. I just outlined the wings and then filled it in with the 91. Now for her skin, I'm actually using E25 and I'm just going around the edges of like her face, her legs, her arms. And I used R23 next, then R21, and I filled in the rest and went over them to sort of help blend them together with the E30. So that's E25, 23, 21, and 30. For the hair, I decided to use some yellows, and I started out with my darkest at the top of her head. I did Y19, then Y15, Y13, and Y11, and I pulled out the E23 and just did some flicks of that brown in her hair too. So I did use some red for her lips as well. I just picked up one of the reds and colored in the lips. And then I cut her out with my Brother Scan and Cut. There is a coordinating die set that goes along with the Fairy Friends set. So you can get the coordinating die set. So after about an hour, my background paper was dry. So I'm just attaching it to a card base, which is cut at 4 1/4 by 11. I scored and folded it at 5 1/2. And I'm just trimming it off because it was a little bit wider than my panel for some reason. I pulled out my white gel pen and I'm putting a bunch of random white dots around the wings. I like to do this because it makes the wings look really sparkly. And I think it looks really pretty. I think it's just a really pretty touch. It's subtle, but you'll see when you see the photos. If you look at the photos on Instagram or on my blog, you'll see that they actually look like sparkly wings. So I added some foam to the back and popped her on my card. And I tried to position her hand so it looked like it was holding one of those stars. But I also added some red enamel hearts that I have that I really like. I put one by her hand and then I put two down by the big dreams sentiment. And that red is really hard to see on the black in the photos and in the video, but it's really easy to see in person. So I just attached those. So the Instagram hop is going on from June 11th through June 18th. So if you check it out, you can find me at, I'll put the link below, Stamping Imperfection. And I will put all the links to the products I'm using below. I'll have another video for you on Tuesday with more of these products, and you can get a sneak peek of that on my blog at Stamping Imperfection or on Instagram. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy our Instagram hop.